books. Much like the original series, Baldur's Gate 3 has a myriad of different forms of literature that gives us insight into the lore of Faerun. Join us today as we read some of these books, discover ingredients, places, points of interest that will only enhance our experience in Baldur's Gate 3. If this content is something you do like, then we hope you will consider giving us a sub, liking the video if of course you do like it, and then commenting on things you may want to see improve on the channel. And of course, we welcome any comments about any books that you may have discovered. Thank you very much, and please enjoy. Death and Divinity, a Godly Guide. The spine of this heavy black book is inked with a chain of silver skulls. Death is too powerful a force for even a single god to contain. It is a duty that has been passed from hand to hand, splintered into smaller pieces: disease, war, funeral rites. But there must always be an overseer of the cycle as life falls away. For countless eons, it was Zhurgal, the lord of the end of everything, presided over mortality with his unblinking stare, until even he grew weary. Young Bhaal, Bane, and Myrkul must have thought themselves conquerors when they came for the god of death, yet he used their ambitions to free himself. Myrkul claimed primacy over death from Zhurgal's bargain, but even he does not rule death alone. What is murder if not the most violent of deaths, seized by Bhaal in his incessant greed? What need would there be for nobleman Celeborn to judge passing souls if one deity could hold the process entire? Even gods can die after all. Those who worship death should remember that above all else. Journey through the jungle. The adventures of one Baron von Baron and his goblin guide Jaw as they brave the thick jungles of Chult. The sun had just fallen below the horizon when I first heard its call, 1,000 reed pipes at once, whistling a single beautiful, terrible song. "Aloof along," said Jaw. "It's coming." Jaw dropped her pack and scurried up the nearest bitter. With a bit more effort, I climbed a tree of my own, and the two of us surveyed the grassy ground beneath. "Awoo!" There it was again, above and beneath and all around, so close my skull vibrated from the sound. The ferns and foliage under me ripped and swayed. Jaw held a finger to her lips to demand my silence, and in one motion it snatched her. A vine? A tentacle? It hardly mattered. The hunter had found its prey. Jaw's scream swelled, then faded as Aloof along dragged her away. I leaped down to give chase, but the creature left no mark behind. The grasses were untrampled, the shrubs unbroken. I had only the memory of that harrowing call to guide me. The Curse of the Vampyr. An ancient text written on dry, cracking paper. Its cover is inscribed with every holy symbol you've ever seen, and some you haven't. Hearken close and beware the vampire. Beware its cold beauty. Beware its charm. Beware its curse. Above all, beware the pale noble, for the vampire cannot bear to be of the common folk. How doth one protect from the beast? Walk not in blackest night, for the vampire loves those nights more than any other. If you must walk, do so by the light of our moon, and take care. Carry the blessings and marks of your God at all times. But remember, your home is a fortress if protected well. If you hear a knock in the night, be wary. Let no stranger into your home. If it be a friend, look upon them. Do you find them pallid and wan? See you any mark upon their neck? See you any dirt upon their clothes? Unless their need is great, turn away all but the most trusted. And if the beast finds a way into your home, flee. Leave love and family behind. You will not save them if you fight. You will not see them again, but they will see you, pale and smiling, calling them into the night. The Unclaimed. The steadily bound story of a cleric of Shar whose soul was never claimed from the city of judgment. In life, her service had been impeccable. Daily did she devote herself to the Lady of Loss. Daily did she free herself from the tyranny of memory. All in time was lost to her. Her relations, her preferences, even her own name. Upon the altar of her devotion placed she the ultimate offering, her emptied mind. And when she died, when she awoke in death, and found herself standing in the pale and faded city of judgment, she waited for the Lady of Loss to retrieve her. 1,000,000 souls and more passed her in colorless gusts, but no hand materialized in her hand. No voice whispered instruction in her ear. No guidance proffered itself from the bleached and barren sky. Time, immaterial time, passed round her like air, coming and going. And still the goddess did not come for her devotee. Kelemvor pitied her as much as the Lord of the Dead is able, but could not intervene. This cleric of the Lady of Loss, unclaimed despite her worthiness, might yet have one more lesson to learn, that of not forgetting, but being forgotten. Magic of the Weave, an introduction. A hefty book for beginning spellcasters. Though mostly truthful, the author, clearly a wizard himself, seemed to possess quite a peculiar bias. Few tried to understand the weave, a true pity, for only they who are truly attuned to the weave can rightly call themselves spellcasters. Thus comes the question, what is the weave? It is an essential element of the universe. It runs through everything in unseen threads. It is what makes magic possible. It is also, though I will not go into further detail here, the goddess Mystra herself. See Magic of the Weave, Mystra and the Spell Plague. The weave isn't magic precisely. Rather, it is the raw material from which magic is woven, not entirely unlike how a collection of threads is shaped and formed into a garment. Those with the necessary talent and skill can manipulate the weave and perform magic by casting spells. Developing this skill takes years of learning and constant practice. You might have heard of those who can cast spells because they are born with an innate connection to the weave, commonly called sorcerers. Or worse, because they struck a bargain with an otherworldly creature, also known as warlocks. Do not be deceived. Their magic is unpredictable, uncontrolled, and in some cases, not even rightfully theirs. No, to truly know and manipulate the weave is an art, but those wizards who master it will know the limitless power and beauty the weave provides. The leadership of the Zhentarim. A battered manuscript, inconsistent in color and construction. The content appears to be following up on previous material. An excerpt from the ongoing metatext rebound by Iosifa Elgin, a scholar excommunicated from the Church of Denir for her heretical attempts to reconstruct the metatext, her god's annal of lost and hidden knowledge. Despite their protestation to the contrary, it takes no keen eye to see echoes of Banite philosophy in modern Zhentarim practice, a strict militaristic hierarchy where all power flows from the top. Who occupies that position today is a matter of some speculation, for the Black Network's leadership was thought destroyed along with their headquarters at Zhentarim Keep in 1383 DR. In the following decades, however, a new base of power began to consolidate at the fortress of Darkhold far to the south. At its center stands the Paraghost, an enigmatic armored figure whom the Zhentarim's rebirth is almost single-handedly attributed. Whoever their leader, it is clear that this new Zhentarim have not abandoned plans for domination so much as recalculated their approach. Where once their focus was on the subversion and conquest of nations, the network of today is much more concerned with establishing their stranglehold on the market, a power which crosses borders that are closed to more conventional forces. Faldorn's Canticle, the Shadow Druids' Doctrine. This aged tome's corners are mossy and alive with tiny insects. The book's spine is limber from overuse. The corner of one page is folded inwards. Balance is a myth. Where any clan treads, nature struggles. Unity is a fiction. Men of mere flesh seek only to tame beast and raise flora. We are the thunder, and we are the rain. We shatter mankind and grow new life in its place. Fables of Faerun 5. The Boy and the Beholder. One of a series of thin tomes illustrating simple lessons to readers of all ages. A shepherd's son tended to his father's flocks on the banks of the Zhentarim. The days grew long and the boy grew bored. To amuse himself, he called out, "Beholder, beholder!" The shepherd came running, but there was no beholder. The boy pointed and giggled, but the shepherd scolded him. "Do not cry beholder when there is no beholder. Promise?" "I promise," said the boy. But the next day was as boring as the last. "Beholder!" the boy cried, and his father rushed to his side. The boy laughed and laughed, but the shepherd only frowned and shook his head. 3 days later, the boy spotted a round figure floating in the distance. It had one giant eye in the middle of its face, a mouth full of pointed teeth, and thin stalks growing from it, each with an eye peeking out from the tip. "Beholder, beholder!" he shouted, but no one came. The beholder began to float toward him. The boy turned and sprinted along the river. He ran and ran until he reached a high bank and could run no more. The boy cried and cowered, bracing for the beholder's deadly ray. Instead, a familiar voice said, "Turn around." The boy turned. There was no beholder, only the shepherd clad in a wooden cloak. A giant eye was painted on the front and a toothy mouth below. Vines were sewn to the cloak's edges. "You scared me," sobbed the boy. "That makes us even," said the father, as he dried the boy's tears. The boy never cried beholder again. 1 foot 2 feet, well met, will meet. A popular book of halfling children's rhymes and mnemonics compiled and archived by one Euphedora Greatquill. 1 foot 2 feet, well met, will meet. 2 drakes, 1 mink, 1 draught, 2 drinks. 1 bear, 3 beers. Come join, drink here. 1 foot 2 feet, well met, will meet. Yondala and Garl shared twixt them a farl, all covered in butter, and they liked each other. Along came a fly who flew in with a cry to the buttery farl of Yondala and Garl. When Garl took a bite, Yondala shrieked with fright. "Don't eat that, oh my! That's a butterfly." There was an old man named Elmoon, who made the best buns in Faerun. The elders did scold him whenever he sold them, saying, "Elm, bring those buns to our room." Ocean of Healing Recipe. This book is redolent with the enticing smell of paper and ink. This small recipe has helped me through a lot. Without my scales, my hide smarts and tears with the slightest touch. While it has never healed me fully, every drop soothes. I hope it might similarly soothe whatever ails you. Someone has filled the rest of the page with repetitions of, why is it always healing potions? This goddamn primitive village, and the occasional, someday I'll kill that mongrel of a master. Luckily, this recipe itself is still mostly legible. Recipe for 1 potion of healing. Extracts needed: salts of rogue's morsel, suspension of maregrass. Method: stir the suspension until vortex forms. Carefully tip in the salts. Keep stirring until the salts dissolve and the solution takes on a red hue. And keep in mind, when in doubt with alchemy, just recall the rule of 3. Thrice the same ingredient forms an extract excellent. The Mortal View. Eyewitness accounts of the Bhaalspawn crisis. This mass-produced book has a cheap imitation of Bhaal's symbol stamped onto the cover. The guild seal on the inside of the cover belongs to a printmaking collective in Baldur's Gate. Of course I remember. Knew the second that girl was walking that she'd be trouble. Little thief, always in everyone's business. And that ward of Gorion went right along with her. No surprise the wicked god's blood was running in their veins. Anonymous, Candlekeep. Saravok and his lot are always the first ones that come to mind. You know this all started with a bit of iron in Nashkel. Everyone thought their weapons would rot out of their hands. Back then, I thought the problem was a bad trade. Never took the man for a son of Baal. Amian mercenary, interviewed on his deathbed. You dare speak that name to me? My mistress was turned to ash fighting those forsaken wretches. I curse Baal. I curse Arenicus. And I curse you. Hostile vampire, Uthkatla slums. The 5 tore Tether to pieces. I don't think anyone expected more Bhaalspawn showing up would fix the war that a pack of them started. Then again, they were all inclined to killing each other, huh? Good riddance. Here's hoping every last one of them has been wiped off the face of Faerun. Saradish merchant, retired. I'm not authorized to be talking about any murder with someone like you. Take it up with the Sea Tower if you want to argue. But honestly, who cares if a Bhaalspawn got it stuck to them? Their father's the killing type after all. Flaming Fist Gauntlet, Baldur's Gate. Several hundred more interviews follow, most of them terse. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode of the Books of Baldur's Gate 3. I hope to find more collections and sets that will further enhance our knowledge of the world of Faerun. The game has been an absolute pleasure to dive into, and we hope to share all the new lore and fun with you all. Have a great day, everybody.